Okay, we've been studying the 5-base form, which is form 69, 70, 71, 72, and 73. And we've looked at each one of these in detail. And out of the Kung Fu Sansu books that Carl Lorenzen wrote, this was one set that is described in the books in that order, 70 or 69 through 73, as a 5-base form. It's written with the transitions, and it's written up with the numbering system all the way through all 5 bases. As far as I know, Jimmy only showed maybe 2 or 3 of these 5-base forms total. Carl has shown me 4 of them or 5 of them. I think this is the 5th one I've seen. 6th one I've seen. But there's one that Jimmy Woo did that it was called the 5-base form. I've got the notes on it. That was the first one that I learned when I was going through yellow belt, green belt, so forth. And that was the original 5-base form that Jimmy showed. And it had form number 1, form number 2, and I think form number 4, 3 or 4, out of the very first parts of the books. The other 2 forms, I have no idea where they came from. They're very different forms. They're not really so much like these forms are very closely related to one another. Those were not. Those were very different. They had a lot of different concepts. So I think they were older forms that weren't so much in these books, but they came from somewhere else probably. I don't know. Anyway, that was the first one where Carl learned the 5-base forms from Jimmy, and then after that, Jimmy showed him within the books, okay, this is how they're to be linked. These are the orders that they're supposed to be in. And then form 64 through 68 is another set. Okay? And then 69 through 73. See, those are 2 5-base form sets that are right there. So there's 10 forms in a row that were actually set up as 5-base form sets. Okay, so I think later on in the latter part of what Jimmy was teaching, he was actually showing Carl, okay, as he was putting together these forms and teaching them one by one, okay, this is how they fit together. This is how you can link them. Each one of them has a specific transition. Like from 1, you are going to turn, do a progressive pivot, do another progressive pivot, and step over. From 2 to 3, you're going to come here, to here, to here with a step. 4, you're going to go here, you're going to step, progressive, progressive, step back. And then from here, you're just going to hop, step, and step. Okay, so each one of them, we'll go through all of that, and we'll talk about it. Very clearly, you'll be able to see that you see these moves in Futka techniques. You see them within forms, your progressive pivots and your hopping motions. You're doing your windmills as you're turning, stuff like that. And you can see where, even in these transitions, the weapons are considered in all this motion. Just like in your forms with all these windmills, you're considering if you have a sword or a stick in your hand. And there's your big windmills and your large motions. What we have is a single base here. And this is going to be like a 26 move form with the center of the base here. This would be either, depends on how you start it, but if these are written to the west, this would be west, east, south, and north. If we shift over here, we can take a look at it. Now we've strung base number 1 and base number 2 together, which now the center base to the other center base is going to be 2 steps back. And that's where we did our spinning transition, where we went from here to here, and then we stepped across. Now we have 1 that moves through base 5 into 2. Now from 2, as you recall, we went across, and we went up, and then we went over. There's your 90-degree shifts. Over, up, over again. And then this is the center of base 3. And when we ended base 3, we had to go, let's go over to this one where we have all 4. We went 1, down to 2, and we went here, up to 3, and we ended here in the center. And then from here, we did our side kick, and we stepped over to this point right here. Then we brought this foot all the way over to the center of base 5, and then we brought the foot that was here back, and we backed into base 4. Okay, so we ended up with our feet here. When we finished base 4, we were here in the center in an Elmo stance. We just looked at that. Now let's go down to the bottom. And here we have all 5 of them put together. When we complete this form, we will be right in the center of base 5. We started here, and we ended 1 step back. Okay, and it's going to be roughly 107 moves or so with the Zheng Hao. Without the Zheng Hao, this form is exactly 100 moves. Okay, now we have, again, this diagram shows top to bottom, left to right. We start in 1, we go top to bottom. Then we come over to the left, then we go to the right, and then we come back to the middle and we finish our 5 base form. So there you have that pattern, top to the bottom, left to right, and we come back. If you go down even further, then we have it shown here in this diagram as well. And this is very clear. And it just doesn't show going back to 5.